welcome to On Topic Retro episode 4. This is the special Retro Rewind community episode. And as everyone should know that was been playing along with us, the game is ToeJam and Earl. I had planned to have Dan Caporello, my fellow co-host of Retrologic, on tonight, but he had to bow out. And instead, I have his brother Adam with me.
Yo. You got
Mr.
the second best Caporello.
Yes, the second one. That might be debatable. Mr. Will Schulz.
Hi.
Schulz? How do you pronounce that, Will?
I say Schulz.
Schulz? That works for me.
All right.
And then also special guest, Mr. Timothy Aulph from the Nintendo Dads. Surprised us with the visit.
I'm playing a retro game, y'all. It's crazy.
Are you sampling a retro game, or are you? So with every one of these shows, everyone's going to get a chance to kind of go around the table and share experiences, whether somewhat recent or childhood. Either way, as long as you enjoyed the game and played some, that's all it takes. So let's let Will go first.
Okay. I have no childhood experience with this game at all. I had a Genesis growing up. I didn't have a Super Nintendo, but I didn't have this game. And I had honestly never played it until this. I did eventually enjoy it, despite the game's best efforts to the contrary. The most memorable moment I've got is not a good one. I opened a present. I got some rocket shoes. I'd lost like 4 levels, and then I got killed by bees.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I stopped playing for a while. I didn't play for about a week.
That's definitely the scenario that puts a stop to that game pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, any experience is good experience. Tim, how about you go next?
So I also don't have any childhood memories of this game because I did not have a Genesis. I had friends who had Genesis games. They had this game, but I had no experience with it. Even with it having multiplayer aspects to it, I didn't play it. So, but that's why I was excited about Genesis games coming to NSO, and being able to try games that I didn't get to play when I was a kid. So, I was looking forward to this coming to Retro Rewind and jumping into it. And I think I probably had a similar experience as Will did, where I jumped in, played, trying to figure things out. I made the mistake of not reading the guide, so I had no idea what was going on. But I was trying to figure it out, figuring that, hey, I could just jump in and it will give me a tutorial on what to do, right? It would teach me what to do in the game. No, it does not. This game's old. Yeah. Obviously, I didn't think back to the days of where you did have to read the guide and understand what was going on. So I did read it after I did my first playthrough, and now I understand a little bit better some of these characters, and some of them I should. There's some characters I should have avoided, and there are others I shouldn't have avoided.
Yeah.
So,
and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but definitely want to be in the know in this game.
I've had experiences with the random presence killing you. Like the electrocution one.
Yeah, there's like one that literally just kills you.
Yeah. I'm like, why am I vibrating and getting electrocuted and can't do anything about it? And then I turn into a ghost, and I was like, okay. And I was playing as ToeJam.
Nice.
So
this kind of makes me wonder if the little ghost animation, like this is where they got the same one for Pikmin, where the little ghost kind of floats up out of them. Mm-hmm. So as Tim and Will have both shared experiences of playing single player, you learn very quickly this game is not really made to be played single player. It's available, but it's definitely not near as fun if you're playing by yourself than is if you're playing co-op. And I think Adam has some things that he can share about playing with 2 players, and we'll hear how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, so despite having an NES before anything else, and being a huge Nintendo kid in the 80s and early 90s. And I had a Nintendo Power subscription, so I knew that the Super Nintendo was coming. But my best friend at the time, and this would have been like 4th grade, his family was, significantly more well off financially than mine was. So he just had everything. I mean, I went to his house and he had TurboGrafx and Nintendo and Genesis and multiple PCs and like all the coolest toys. Like he was probably spoiled, but we were somehow ended up hitting it off and being good friends. And I had no idea what a Genesis was until I went to his house, and he showed me Sonic the Hedgehog, and that was like my first introduction to 16-bit graphics. And he also had Strider, which is, if you're going from an NES to like the Genesis version of Strider, it's like mind-blowing.
Oh yeah.
So Strider was the one that was the Genesis game that impressed me the most.
Yeah,
was that game. So
insane. So, that was my first experience with 16-bit graphics and everything. So that influenced me to go Genesis when I finally entered the 16-bit generation myself. But, we didn't have, my dad wasn't super pro video game. He wasn't like, you can't have video games, but he really wasn't supportive of it. So, I, as like an 11, 12-year-old, had to support my own gaming habit, which means that I didn't have a ton of Genesis games. But ToeJam and Earl, and I literally, I was thinking about it earlier, I can't even remember how I came across the game in the first place, because there was no internet back then. I didn't have, I was still getting Nintendo Power, but I didn't have any like feed of, hey, these are some Genesis games coming out. So it must have been something that we rented on a whim and ended up falling in love with it. But ended up adding ToeJam and Earl to our small library of Genesis games. And it was the co-op experience that caused me to want to own the game. My brother is 4 years younger than me. So, and back then there weren't a ton of co-op games. I didn't have Contra or anything like that. So we didn't have a lot of experience. That was kind of our first experience where, my brother and I were able to play a game together at the same time, because it's very different than, hey, I'm going to play Mario, and then eventually when I die, you can play as Luigi, which, for me being 4 years older meant that I would almost beat the game before Dan got a chance to, play level 1 and die in the first 14 seconds.
Right.
So it's a much different experience. And also in a co-op game like that, you can kind of help each other when it's necessary. So especially in a game like ToeJam and Earl, where it's so random and there's any number of things that the game will randomly throw at you. I'm sure I can't necessarily speak for him, but I'm sure playing a co-op game with your older sibling is just a dream come true, because you get to experience much more of the game than you'd be able to on your own, but you're actually participating rather than just being a spectator. So I think that's why he ended up loving it so much. And for me, it wasn't just the gameplay, which I thought was really fun, because I was thinking about it, and that was kind of the first, I don't want to call it like a sandbox game, but it is a game where if you want, you can kind of just go wherever you want. Obviously there's a set goal, but there's not necessarily a set path. You can kind of take your own course. You can obviously, as you found out, you can fall down to the previous level, which is a new thing. That wasn't a thing before I played this game. You can just chill and have fun. You can go down to level 0. I don't know if y'all ever found level 0. Do they know about level 0? Okay,
No.
We'll talk about level 0.
Yeah, we're talking about it later. We have it in the notes.
We'll definitely talk about level 0, but there's areas in the game where you can just kind of chill and have fun. And that was kind of a new concept as well. The other thing that at that age, drew me to the game is that it really clicked with me as far as the humor was concerned. There wasn't a whole lot of humor in games, particularly in, I mean, you had stuff like Maniac Mansion, but I didn't get Maniac Mansion on NES when I was 8, 9 years old. And if I did, it wouldn't have made sense to me. So this was the first game that clicked with me and fell into the same kind of category as, Mad Magazine, Weird Al, Monty Python. It's just got that absurdist humor about it. So that was a really big attraction for me to the game. So that's, I know I'm at the point I'm rambling now, but that was my early experience with it. And I would still play it single player, but yeah, it just is not quite the same game. It's not as fun. It can get very frustrating. It does make it a little bit easier. Actually, I would probably say a lot easier because you know more what to expect if you play it on fixed mode. Because it's not just the levels and the elevator locations that are fixed, but the presents are easier to ascertain what they are. So that does make it a little bit easier if you're playing single player, but
so you definitely don't get electrocuted.
Yeah. So that was my early experience with it back in the early 90s. Definitely one of my favorite Genesis games for sure.
I could see that, especially with the co-op stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I know that I had some experience with it as a kid. I don't think that I had any co-op experience. Mine would have also been just a buddy that had it and was like, "Hey, you can play this if you want to try it out. You can try all my games out and see what you like." And just I remember playing it and really not understanding what was going on because he didn't have the manual and like there was no internet, so you can't
right.
Can't look up how to play. And
right.
I'm not even 100% sure that he knew how to play it. He just had it. Because I remember asking him like, how do you use the presents and like how do I know which ones do what? And had very similar experiences to Will where you get the rocket boots and then like next thing you know you're falling all the way off the place and you end up in the water and you get eaten by a shark or but definitely learned to appreciate the game a lot more, especially the music of the game. Like,
yeah,
we can kind of touch on that, a little more later, but the music is fantastic. And really there isn't anything like it in that time period. It's definitely a game like you could sit and just let it play and listen to the music if you wanted to. It's another way like to enjoy it. But when I played it more recently, with the strict mission of, hey, I want to get all 10 parts and see how this game, ends. I had fun with it, but it's definitely, I wish I would have been able to play with my son. We never could connect and get the time to do it. He was always busy doing something else. But I had fun. I got all my parts. I learned a little bit more about the presents because I didn't go back and re-look and see what they all do. So I spent the time to try to figure them all out. I don't think I ever got all the presents before I got the randomizer present. Because if you get so many, it increases the chances that you'll open the randomizer, which then will just totally randomize all the presents again. So
frustrating.
Yeah. But no, I had fun. I completed the game, which was the goal for me. Definitely more challenging than what I was expecting it to be after playing just the first little bit. It kind of gets more challenging as it goes. And, run into things you didn't see before.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
it was nothing like I envisioned when I started playing it. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you'd never played, any ToeJam and Earl or never had any experience with it, it's going to totally throw you off how it plays. Because there really isn't a whole lot there's things that are more like it nowadays, but especially at this time, you definitely weren't going to be playing anything that was like it.
Yeah.
So we've talked about experiences, so now we can kind of move on and actually discuss the game a little bit more in depth, and we can start talking about all these things that we're excited to share in all the twists and turns of the game.
Yeah.
The game released on October 15th of 1991 in the US, sometime in November in 91 for Europe, and Japan had to wait until March 13th of 92 to get the game. Not really sure why, I guess just because it was developed in the outside of Japan, so maybe that's why. And
localization always took a long time then.
Yep.
It did.
Localize the other way.
Right.
Than they normally do. This game was developed by Greg Johnson, and kind of how the what I was reading about the story of it is that he was kind of just a big fan of the game Rogue, which, you know, as today is most known for giving us a whole new genre of games.
Yes.
That stemmed from it. Actually, a couple genres, I guess, if you consider a roguelite a separate genre. No.
Right.
We don't want to get into genre topics or arguments.
Yeah, don't need
tonight.
to split hairs there.
Yeah, we'll be out here all night. But yeah, as I was kind of reading through, he was a fan of that game, and he had some early work working on some games for EA called Starflight and Starflight 2, which had more of like a sci-fi theme. And he had the idea that he wanted to develop his own game and kind of combine those two elements. And from what it sounds like, he had the characters in mind pretty early, and then was just kind of building the rest of the game around it, or the ideas for the game. And I guess he ran into a programmer named Mark Vusander, who would program the game for him, and they kind of developed a relationship, started their own studio, and just kind of went through whatever it took to get the game off the ground. And which since both of these guys already had some like connections and jobs as in the game industry at the time, kind of gave them a good leg up and led to talks with Sega. And that's kind of how we get, where we're at today, with them primarily being on Sega consoles, except for the newest game.
And I'd say that was a perfect fit for that.
Yeah,
between Sega and Nintendo, ToeJam and Earl definitely fit Sega.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, like, I have another note in here that Sega was, at the time was kind of grasping. They're trying to find any kind of characters that would just stand out, that could be a mascot to kind of go up against Nintendo, because Nintendo was kind of the in charge of the game industry at the time. They were the power to kind of take over, mountain to climb per se. So, when Sega was looking to kind of take over, they wanted to make their foothold in the market, and that's why we have Sonic and just all the crazy bonker things that we got from Sega. That time period was really cool because they brought out a lot of different ideas and creativity in games that we weren't seeing on Nintendo.
Yeah, that was like the Wild Wild West era for Sega. I mean, they had all kinds of crazy stuff that they were kind of just throwing out there, and they were able to take that risk because it was like they were going up against the giant, and they I think hit a lot more times than they missed, which is what brought them kind of on equal footing with Nintendo for quite a while.
Yeah, I missed that time period because today we have a few different consoles that are not necessarily at odds with each other, but are trying to make their own stake in the market. But when you really look at deep down at their portfolios, they're all very similar. You're getting a lot of the same games on all the consoles. In this time period, that wasn't the case. Like, Sega had a lot more exclusive games for that time that you couldn't play on a Nintendo. So it really kind of split kids down the middle, of the road. You picked a side and you played totally different games. Like, I remember talking to friends that had Sega, and they're like, "Hey, I played played this game. Have you ever played Space Harrier on your Nintendo? And I'm like, yeah, that's not on Nintendo.
Oh.
So
And then the games that did exist on both consoles, they would be entirely different
Yes.
games.
different
Yes.
makes. Yep.
I remember going to a friend's house, and one of my favorite Genesis games that I did own was Jurassic Park. And if you've ever played both, the Jurassic Park game on the Super Nintendo is very different. It's like a top-down, almost like a Zombies Ate My Neighbors kind of.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
more similar to the NES game.
so yeah, and then the Genesis game is a side scroller, and you can play as the raptor. So very, very different. And you kind of had that a lot where, there's the whole Aladdin debate, which version of Aladdin is better.
Yes.
It's not like today where essentially, particularly if you're comparing the PS5 versus the Xbox One or whatever, it's like they're essentially exactly the same.
Yeah, they're a PC, and they each have like a few exclusive games to themselves that will get people to buy one or the other, or maybe both. But you're definitely not seeing near the variety of exclusive games that you did back in the 90s coming out of game companies. I mean, even when you look at the stark differences between when PlayStation entered and the N64 was competing in that arena, and Saturn, they were all totally different. You were not playing
Very
things
different.
on Saturn that you were playing on. PlayStation tried to handle some Saturn games, not so well.
No.
And then N64 was just completely out of the question. But N64 was getting like some different types of games that weren't playable anywhere else either. So you just had a wide variety, and like I said, I kind of missed that because today you basically consoles are basically a PC.
Right.
And they're just playing the same stuff.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with it because those older consoles, a lot of, how the games were created were based on the architecture of the system. So, you probably couldn't make a game like, F-Zero or Star Fox on the Genesis. The hardware just wouldn't allow for it. And there's stuff like, I would say something like Strider, you probably couldn't do on the Super Nintendo. So when it came down to it, and it was amplified once you enter the really early days of the 3D systems, 64, PS1, and Saturn. But even the 16-bit, there was just totally different architecture between the systems. So I don't even know that you could do something like ToeJam and Earl on Super Nintendo. It just might not have worked as far as how the graphics chip worked, and the certainly not the sound. Those audio processors were vastly different between those systems. So I don't know that the Super Nintendo would have been nearly as funky as the Genesis.
Right.
Well, I mean, and at the time, like Super Nintendo had just released. Like this was would have been a very early game at that time.
Very
period.
early. Mm-hmm.
And talking about a little bit with the console, the constraints that you had to work within, doing a little bit of reading that, they told them that you couldn't do the split screen co-op on the Genesis. They were told it wasn't possible. And I guess Forsander worked it out and proved them wrong. And that's how we got it.
What's really cool about that on the split screen thing is if you and your co-op partner separated, it would transition to split screen. Yep. And then you could go to separate parts of you could be on level 7 and your co-op partner would be on level 4. Like you could be on different levels at the same time. And then if you found each other again and made it back to where you were next to each other, it would then go back to being one screen, which is kind of nuts.
That's impressive for that time. Yeah.
There's games today that don't do that,
Right.
I can't remember for quite a while, for co-op games that you were kind of like tethered together, even after this.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of any other game that does that.
Marty was just complaining that Lego game doesn't do that anymore. The new Star Wars game.
What?
It's just all split. It doesn't merge like it used to, where you could be all on one screen.
Put you in one screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
That's probably
Wow.
more of a design choice than a limitation.
Yeah. And we kind of hit on the funky music a little bit. That was composed by John Baker, and I couldn't really find a whole lot of other things that he's done, other than like some other musical scores. Nothing really for games that stood out that I could find. So I'm just glad that we got what we got from him, I guess.
That's
Yeah,
a banging soundtrack.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's one that like I can put on while I'm working, and just kind of rock out to.
Jam out for sure. You could spit bars to that music. It's so funky. And it's got that little thing where you can just kind of I don't know what the name. It's kind of like a sound test screen. You know how a lot of games used to have a sound test screen?
Yeah.
But it's instead of just having like the sound test where it's like a list of the, little audio bits from the game, it had music behind it, and you could almost kind of like rap back and forth.
Yeah.
With different, voice clips from the game. So that, you could have fun with that. And that was kind of the first, it's a toy. You're playing with it, kind of like, the beginning of Mario 64, where you can play with Mario's face and stretch it out and stuff like that. That was the first time that I've ever experienced anything like that, where you have just like a little sandbox to play in. You can just goof around. It wasn't like, all right, you press power on your system and we're playing the game. Like you can just goof off a little bit. And that was what was really cool about that game. Multiple ways that you could just goof off and not have to get so serious right into the gameplay if you didn't want to.
Nice.
Yeah, it just still blows my mind that like you could do the split screen on there for co-op, and like how seamless it was. Like I can't think of it. I was trying to think in my head of some other games from that era that would do that, or like on Super Nintendo, and I can't think of any off the top of my head. Like even playing co-op in like something like Donkey Kong Country, you can't split off.
And then when they come back together, you see the little text bubble, and he goes, "Hey, Earl!" Like they talk to each other, like, "Hey, how you been?"
Yeah, I mean that's another thing too that you don't ever get to experience if you're playing single player, because there's only one of them, so they don't talk, so you miss all the dialogue and things that they say whenever they meet up, or whenever they find something.
Or in the elevator, the audio, the exchanges between the two in the elevator. Oh man, funny stuff goes on there.
They talk in the elevator. Now I'm a little upset with myself. I had some people in the house I could have definitely played it with, but I made the mistake of playing it myself first. So then, my kid gets to watch how frustrated I'm getting with this thing. I'm like, you want to play this with me? No,
I'm good.
No, I don't think so. It's like, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements. I mean, you could definitely tell that, and they've even stated it, that it's a 2-player game that you're capable of playing it by yourself if you want to, but it was designed with a co-op experience in mind. They wanted somebody to play ToeJam, and they wanted somebody to play Earl, and that's how the game was made.
Yeah.
So,
which honestly, the Genesis didn't really have. They didn't have a Mario Kart or something that was like, oh, this is a multiplayer experience.
Yeah.
So at least from my memory, that was the first Genesis game, until you had like Mortal Kombat come along, where it was like, there is a 1-player mode, but this is so much better as a multiplayer experience.
Yeah. And yeah, you have to preface that too. It's Mortal Kombat with blood, not the sweat that you got on Super Nintendo. But yeah, so I think that's about all I had on the development. I don't know if you guys had anything you could think of off the top of your heads.
Not too much info out there.
No, it's pretty. The game's pretty basic as far as how it works. Like the gameplay is pretty, there's a lot of things you can do, but really in the end it's pretty basic. There's not a whole lot to the story or anything, which I do have a little bit of a blurb for story. That's not even really story. It's just kind of like the sequence of the game a little bit. and that is in that, in the opening sequence of the game, ToeJam just kind of explains that Earl's erratic piloting abilities have resulted in a crash landing on Earth. And he says that they must find the pieces of the spacecraft wreckage to return to their home planet of Funkatron. And like, that's really all you get. Like, there's no other story. Like, there's nothing you're going to go after other than those ship pieces. And then you kind of get into the game and discover there's a little bit more to it, but I mean, it's essentially what you're given.
I have
There's
to say
no plot
too,
twists.
well, part of the plot twist is that, yeah, you crash land on Earth, but it does not look like Earth to me when you're on there.
Yeah.
And it's always transforming on me.
Yeah, that's something that we could talk a little bit about when we get to the gameplay. But yeah, when you just walk up to a piece, like you think it's a dead end, but then like it just starts, like it's almost like the terraforms in front of you. Yeah.
Sometimes the ground you're standing on disappears and you lose a level.
That happens too. Yeah. And like I said, there's not a whole lot of story, so we're just going to go ahead and move right on to gameplay, the meat and potatoes of the show, and we can all talk about all the crazy things that this game does. Like we can I didn't necessarily outline like all the gifts what they do, but we could find that pretty easily on the internet. There's like a list, or even the characters. I just kind of talked a little bit about the things, the basic things. So the game's 2 characters, Traverse and Earth, that's represented by randomly generated islands that float in space. You can play a fixed version like Adam was talking about, but I think you have to select that. I think it automatically goes to the random, right? Or is that the other way around?
The game mode,
yes,
it's random unless you actually go down and select a fixed mode.
That's what
I was trying to remember if you get to make choices at the beginning, but I don't remember making choices. So
yeah, it's like, on the main menu. It's like before you even start.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, you start out and it just automatically, if you don't change it, it'll throw you into random mode, which
I didn't know what any of that meant.
Right.
I was like, random, sure. Let's go for it.
Let's go.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it just makes it to where all of it is randomly generated. So you'll never know the order of the islands that you're going to get, or like the levels.
And again, that blew my mind itself, being that, this is a Genesis game that I didn't know very much about, and I didn't know games at that time could do randomization like that.
Oh yeah.
So
it's unique.
I thought that was pretty impressive for that. But it threw me off.
For sure. I tried fixed mode once after I got really frustrated. I started fixed mode, but I only got like a few levels up before it's like, this feels like cheating. I need to go back. And do the random one.
Yeah.
Easy mode.
Yeah. Although, I mean, like, it does make it slightly easier, but I mean, you're still having to deal with all the challenges. You still could fall off the map. Like, you just basically know where the elevator is going to be at. You don't have to worry about that.
The speedrunners use
speed run mode. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. So yeah, you start the game. It's all randomized. The only goal that you get is that you need to find these ship parts, and luckily for us, they at least tell you that there's one on the floor that you're on.
I was very happy to get that information.
Oh man,
yeah,
very helpful.
Because I mean, you kind of get into this rhythm where, like, okay, I know there's a ship part, so I know I'm fully exploring this area till I find it. And then the ones where you don't get that, you could choose to, am I going to beeline, try to find the elevator, or do I want to go collect some presents? Am I running low on presents? It's like it kind of gives you a different dynamic of how you're going to play out that certain area that you're in.
Yep.
Which is pretty nice.
Which, like I said, I didn't read the manual, so I didn't know much of what was going on. It was more trial and error as I was playing through it. And even though there's nothing to train you like modern day games have, I would say it's still like I was starting to figure things out as I was playing along with, okay, I know I need to find the elevator now to get to the next level. I know I'm looking for parts. Oh, look, there's a thing that says there's a part on this plane. So great. That tells me that. I know what to look for. And then when I went to the next plane, it didn't tell me that. I was like, okay, I'm getting that. Like you said, I'm going to just go look for that elevator to get off of here. So yeah. And then you start finding out about all the different enemies, and I thought everybody was an enemy, to be honest, at first, because again, I didn't read the manual. I didn't know there were any helpers on there too. So which, like I said, I found out afterwards. There are some I think, what was it, the doctor or something like that is one of them.
Yeah. Who can heal you for real cheap.
Yes. So yeah, so even though, like I said, it doesn't teach you, it does teach you in a way, in the old school way, where you figure things out yourself if you want. And then of course going back to being a kid, on the way home, you get a new game, you're busting out that manual and reading through it on the way home, probably. So
yeah, and we're a little spoiled today with games. They teach you everything up front, send you out, and you do it. But there was something about firing up a game and having to learn how it works as you play.
Yeah.
It's something you kind of take for granted nowadays, that you fire it up and everyone's like, oh man, I had to sit and wait and go through this tutorial for 30 minutes before I can even play the game. And it's like, well, if you fired up some of the older games, you get more frustrated because you have no idea how it works and they just throw you in there. I mean, just look at Zelda.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you read the manual on the way home from the store, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that all of us here played it on the NSO, right? The app.
Yeah.
So the very first thing you had to do is figure out what button did what.
Yes.
It's not a Genesis controller.
Yes. Yep. Definitely.
So yeah, as Tim kind of alluded to, each island is populated by Earthlings, such as like phantom ice cream trucks, aggressive packs of nerds, giant hamsters, boogeymen.
Oh man, the boogeyman. Oh geez.
Yeah, boogeyman, man-eating mailboxes, chickens armed with mortars that shoot tomatoes. And this game is really not very like violent. Like, all of the things are pretty kid friendly. Like, this is something that even your youngest kid, if they can grasp how to play, it's just fine. There's no guns. There's no nothing like
you're playing
in the
a
time
Saturday morning cartoon is essentially.
Yeah.
Yes.
The worst you're going to get is smashed into a pancake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the worst is the man-eating.
The mailbox. Oops, he freeze out.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I thought it was just me.
I'm not frozen. You're not frozen.
Okay.
He's frozen.
Okay.
So
we might have to.
But yeah, I guess it was the man-eating mailbox.
Mailbox.
Like yeah, like you were mentioning. Yeah, that was definitely.
No, the first time I found one of those, I did not approach another mailbox again.
Yes.
Or maybe one time, and I stared at it for a good minute first. Like, do you have eyes?
Are you okay, bro?
Because at least once I was like, I'm absolutely sure that this is not a monster. I went up to it. No, it's a mimic.
Yes.
Oh, he's back.
Yes, the mailbox.
What happened?
We're building off your mailbox.
Yeah. I got disconnected for a second, I guess. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh no, you're all good. So yeah, the enemies are all hilarious. Like, you have the dentist, and you have all these weird things, the cupids, all the little weird things that are attacking you.
The other one that threw me off was the hula girl.
Yeah.
You just go by her and then it makes you dance. And
yeah,
what sucks is when she makes you dance and there's a hamster coming at you in the hamster
knocks you off.
And you're trying to run away from an enemy.
You can't run away because you're dancing. You're doing the hula dance. It's like, what is going on? Why can't I move?
Yeah, the one that I hated the most, early on, is the dentist, because he moves so much faster than you.
So
you
fast.
can't escape. It's like, this is unfair unless you do rocket boots, but that's very risky too.
Or jumping in the water, which is also very risky.
Yeah. I mean,
could be sharks nearby.
And even if there aren't, you drown fast.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, you do. That was one of the weird things. Like one of the first presents that I opened, like on my current playthrough, I got the like the duck, the inflatable duck, and I was like, "What the heck am I doing with the inflatable duck on?" And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, you can float in the water faster."
Without drowning.
Yeah, and you're not drowning. You can actually escape from the sharks instead of getting munched on if they're in there.
I'd like to talk a little bit about my least favorite enemy, and that's the tornadoes that show up in the sand levels.
Yes.
Those, I hate those more than anything else in this game. Because they are fast, and once they get you, they're probably going to spin you around for a while and drop you off just off the island.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yes. Anything that pushes you off the edge is I hate. Like that boogeyman. That boogeyman pushed me off.
I don't know that I ran into too many of the chickens with the mortars.
I had a level with like 4 of them once.
Yeah.
In the playthrough where I finally won. It was toward the end.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I remember seeing them, but I don't remember, like, they weren't very populated in the game like some of the other enemies that you've seen all over the place. But yeah, so there's also some, I'm trying to remember some more of the people that help you out. We mentioned the doctor, and there's a it's like an angel or something.
Wait,
there's the is it the farmer? Is it called a farmer dressed in the carrot suit or whatever?
Guy in the carrot suit, yeah.
The carrot guy.
The carrot guy.
Carrot guy.
Wait, carrot guy helps you?
Yeah,
carrot guy does help you.
I didn't know that either. I thought it was an enemy until I read the manual.
Yeah. That manual is like the way to go, because it kind of learns you up and tells you what you need to avoid and what you don't.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember all the ones that help you, but there's quite a few of them.
Can you hear the music a little bit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is when I recorded me getting on the elevator. I had to record that.
Yeah.
If the music wasn't as good as it is, I would have just given up altogether.
Right.
Yeah, no, the music makes the game.
Yeah.
But we've been talking a little bit too. The game also features a bunch of power-ups in the form of presents, which are categorized by appearance. They're all shapes and sizes, but the contents of the present are unknown until you use one. So you never know what a present is until you open it. And it
truly a present.
All kind of calamity will ensue whenever you open the wrong present.
Yep.
We've talked a little bit about that. And we have it right in here, the carrot suit guide. So one of the carrot suit guy will identify presents for a fee. So that's what he's used for.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And the presents with question marks can hold any item at random, so their contents cannot be identified by sight alone. And it's randomized by game. So you can't just try to memorize the one from the game before. If you start a new game, it's fully randomized again, and they're totally different. So,
right, but you can use process of elimination a little bit. Like if you've already discovered the rocket boots, then something else with a question mark will not be the rocket boots. It identifies all future presents of that type, which is pretty helpful.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it'll list them out what they are. Once you've identified one, it'll tell you what all of every one of them that are that one item. It'll tell you what they are.
Unless you get the randomizer.
Unless you get the randomizer, it just totally blows up your list. It says each power-up has a unique effect. While one might increase a player character's running speed, another distracts an enemy. Certain presents contain harmful power-ups, such as the Total Bummer, which causes the player to lose a life. Or, as we just mentioned, the Randomizer, which resets the identity of all presents in the game. If you're playing cooperative mode, one player that opens a present in the vicinity of another, its contents will affect both characters. So this can kind of be an odd situation too, especially if both of you guys get rocket boots at the same time, could be kind of a weird catastrophic event. Yeah,
it's a bad day. It's if you're on the same screen, right?
Yes,
it's been a
if you're in
while.
the same vicinity, yeah, you guys will both receive the contents of the present.
That's what I'm remembering. It's been a long time since I played at co-op, but if I'm remembering correctly, if you get far enough apart that you switch to split screen, your presents don't affect the other player. But
yeah,
if
you could use your own. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which
So do you have individual present inventories, or is that shared?
Separate. It's separate inventory.
Yep.
Okay.
Separate. So technically you could do some like shenanigans where because it only randomizes the presents that you've picked up, right? It doesn't randomize the ones that are on the map.
That I'm not sure actually.
I think it only randomizes the ones that you have. I don't know. Well, I'll have to think about that some more. But
yeah,
you could definitely do some things where, like, if one player has all these presents that are identified, you separate out, and then you won't randomize his presents.
So, gotcha.
Okay. I can see how that might work.
Yeah, and then as long as one of you guys knows what your presents are, you can use them as a benefit later on when you come back together.
Right.
Where it affects both players. So like there's some different things that you can kind of do with it. In my mind, it might work out better on paper than what in reality, but
no, it makes sense. But as kids, you're not strategizing to that level.
You're not thinking about it.
You're just like, what's this one do? And just go for it.
Yeah. So
that's what I was doing on my own.
Yeah. It's more fun that way.
Yeah. And I mean, as we mentioned, kind of just like by process of elimination, the more presents you open, the more likely you are to find the randomizer eventually. Just because it's always out there, and eventually you'll open it up just by curiosity.
Yep.
And then again, the game is very simple. The only task that you're tasked with is finding all the ship parts. So once you collect all 10, you win. That's the end of the game.
Which can get frustrating if you get to later levels and you've got like 7, 8, 9 parts, and then you end up just randomly like get 2, 3 levels in a row with no parts on it. You're like, come on! I just need this many more parts. Yeah. So
technically, since it's all random, if you found like somewhere a game exists where you find a part like within the first 10 levels on every plane, and then the last part's on level 99. Like that could exist somewhere.
I don't know what limits they programmed into the randomization. Surely, hopefully that's not necessarily possible, but
yeah, I hope so.
I'm trying to think what's the highest I've ever been. And I can't remember anything higher than like maybe 17 or 18.
The game that I got all the parts, I actually beat the game. It took me to 25.
Wow.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Where did you guys beat the game at? Like what level?
It was around 25.
I think in my playthrough, I did it around 18.
Yeah, I have no memory of going above 17 or 18. That's insane.
I'm very upset now.
I'll be honest, I did not play it again after I died. Because I did not have enough time to go back to it and try it again. Oh, no. But it was like after I forget which level. I think I got to level 7 or 8, and just presents were killing me, or other things were killing me, and I was just like, what is going? Again, I didn't read the manual, so and it was starting to get a little frustrating for me. And then I read the manual, got a better idea of it, but it was like, I'm not sure if this game is for me.
There's so many things in the game that can kill you. So
yeah, but I do honestly want to try it multiplayer, with the second local player.
Yeah, that's where the fun's at.
Or I was going to ask, I don't remember, does Genesis have the ability to play second player online like the other, like the Nintendo does?
I'm pretty sure it does.
Okay. Because see, Will, that's something we could have done if I would have known.
We could have done that. Yeah.
Like, Another thing too, like you were saying, like thinking back to some other games like around that time period where like power-ups are always a good thing. And then you play this game and you start opening presents and you're like, they're killing me. Like, what is
Not
going on
always,
here?
yeah.
That electrocution doesn't look like a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like you play Mario or like Sonic or any of those games, like every time you find something, it's usually useful. There's not too many times where something just instant kills you whenever you pick it up.
And that's what was so cool about it at that time, because it's just so absurd. It just goes against the norm of what you're used to, it sucks if you're trying to beat the game, but like if you're just trying to have a good time, it's kind of hilarious.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I could see definitely if I had this as a kid playing with my friend, like if they were over spending the night or something, we would just be dying laughing.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. As an adult, it was funny exactly once.
Yeah, it was a few. That's funny. Okay, I'm dying too many times here. What's going
on? So I also listed some little. This is usually where I try to like find some fun facts. There wasn't really a whole lot of fun facts, but I did find some like tips that might help out some newcomers that listen to the show and want to try to find the time to go back and play it since it's so accessible now. Some of the things and these are very helpful. Like I wish I would have known some more of these things when I was starting out. But so kind of what Adam was saying earlier, level 1 isn't as one-dimensional as it seems. You can get several Icarus wings, rocket skates, or inner tubes and go back to level 1. You can do this with just one inner tube, but it's safer to have multiples. First, you go to the top right of the map, use some presents, and then there's an island with presents there. You grab all the ones you want and then go back past the starting island, then go to the lower left corner, and there's more presents and a hole. You grab what you want there and then jump into the hole, and then that takes you to level 0 of what Adam was talking about earlier.
Yep.
Which is just a small island with a few non-lethal hula girls and a hot tub where you can chat with some girls and refill your health.
Hop in the hot tub.
That's right. And a lemonade stand.
I feel like they put it there as kind of like a consolation prize to where, because there's plenty of times where you're getting far in the game, you get to like double-digit levels, and then you might have 5 or 6 ship pieces, and then something happens and you just drop multiple levels. And if you get frustrated and you're like, well, screw it, I'm not going to beat this run, so I might as well just drop down to level 0. And then you get to hang out with some hula girls in the hot tub and drink lemonade. Yeah. It's like a consolation prize. And I've done that.
I think I want to play it again just so I can go to
see level 0. Yeah.
I've done that way more times than I've actually beaten the game.
Well, it says here, and I didn't know this either, but when you're done at level 0, if you jump off, it takes you back to the highest place you made it to in your run.
That is true. I remember discovering that by accident. I was like, well, wait, what happens if you fall off level 0?
Is there a negative
took
1?
Me back to, yeah, exactly. I was just curious. I didn't know. You didn't know back then what. No. I was just throwing whatever at the wall to see what would stick. And I remember I still have that memory of finding that out myself. Like, what? So yes, you can use level 0 to go back to the highest level that you had achieved in that game. So that's super helpful.
So, and then another thing here, you can't be hurt by anything except projectiles if your character's feet are off the ground. So any of the power-ups that allow you to float,
right,
you can't get attacked unless it's something that's being shot at you.
The ground enemies cannot hurt you if you're flying at all. That's correct.
Yep.
That's cool.
And then this one would have been real helpful to know, but whenever you open a total bummer, there's a chance to save yourself. If you hold down the presence button while you're being zapped, you'll recover life, instead of losing your life.
Is that the electrocution thing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That is a total bummer.
Yeah, total bummer that you don't know that.
Present. Yes.
Yeah, I was right now years old when I learned that. I had no idea that was a thing.
All right. Yeah,
So,
it would
yeah.
have been nice if I would have known all these things
Well,
when I
Yeah.
If they told you about it, it wouldn't be a total bummer anymore.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
So, and here we go. So what I was questioning, I thought I read this and I did throw it in here, but the randomizer doesn't shuffle the presents that are on the ground. They will be unidentified, but the same. So you can drop what you want to keep, use the randomizer on your bad presents to get better ones if you want to. Like there's strategy to it.
Oh.
Yeah.
This makes this game even more interesting.
Yeah, you can almost break it now.
Right?
Yeah, so with all these things that you didn't know, now you can go back and play it one more time and enjoy it a little bit more, hopefully.
I'm actually going to copy these real quick.
Yeah, go for it. And like I said, anybody that hasn't played this is like good information to know before you start and get too frustrated and you want to quit.
Yeah.
like Tim.
Read the manual first before you start playing.
Yeah. The manual.
Read the tips.
Find a manual,
and get
read
some
the
tips.
manual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask John for the tips.
I'll post. I could post these in Discord too. I don't have any problems doing that.
Nice.
And it's something I never did look. I bet there's some cheat codes for this game, and I just never did even come across any. It's kind of that time period where like almost every game
probably
had a cheat code.
them. Yeah.
So there could even be no promises. Like I said, I didn't look, but there's probably some kind of cheat for invincibility or automatically showing what presents are whenever you pick them up.
Hold on.
You can all ship pieces except the last one.
What?
Yep.
I just saw that.
So like I said,
you're like searching right now.
Yes, yeah,
I did. Yeah.
Like I mean, at this time period, all games had cheats. Like Konami made it that way,
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so insane. That's another new thing that I just learned. My goodness.
So there we go. So you got a plethora of ToeJam and Earl knowledge thrown your way in one evening. And gives you a new life and a more drive to want to go back and play the game a little bit more, hopefully.
If you input the code correctly, you should hear a chime, unpause the game, and you should notice you have all but one of the ship pieces collected, and no matter where you are, you will find the last piece on the next level. Sweet. All right. It's kind of an automatic win cheat code, but still, if you're just getting frustrated with a run and you're ready to
just like, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
So at this point in time, I'll let you know if you guys have anything that you want to add. That's totally fine. I think we kind of covered most of the things I can think of, but I didn't know if you guys had anything else.
So apparently my game was much longer than anyone else's. I want to know if you remember, what rank did you get to? Like, as you get points, every once in a while you rank up, you get a little more on your health bar. Sometimes you get an extra life. Like, if you remember, what'd you get to?
I can't remember what it was.
Is that what the stars are?
The stars are your lives.
Those are your lives.
The ranks are when you're playing, like, it starts like ToeJam is a wiener or something.
Yeah.
If you play long enough, you can be a Poindexter or a dude.
Okay, I got ToeJam as a Poindexter.
I did too, I think.
I got all the way to Rap Master.
Nice.
Rap Master is the second highest.
Yeah.
I do remember achieving Funk Lord at least 2 or 3 times as a kid. Don't think I would have the patience for it now, but yeah, Funk Lord is Rap Master is the second highest rank, and then Funk Lord is the highest. And there's I totally
forgot. I totally forgot about the leveling up.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's like kind of
the Poindexter's like 3rd level.
Yeah. Poindexter's pretty early on.
But you get an extra life. It's very handy.
Yes.
So yeah, and we also didn't mention that the stars are basically your lives. So however many you have, and there are like ways to get extra lives in the game too.
Yeah, and the ranks really they increase your hit points, basically your health. But that's really all it does.
Yeah,
But it's very
it's
helpful.
also clout. I mean, you could say you have reached
I made
Rap
Funk
Master
Lord.
or Funk Lord.
I wonder if Funk Lord is related to Star Lord.
It could be. Yeah, the ToeJam and Earl will be in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
There we go.
Make guest
That'd be
appearances.
amazing.
That would be super cool.
So yeah, maybe now we've covered all of ToeJam and Earl. You have anything else, Will?
No, I was just morbidly curious since my playthrough was like 7 levels longer than anyone else.
Yeah, that's definitely the longer you play and the further you go in, you'll that's how you achieve Funk Lord for sure.
Nice.
So yeah, with that being said, we'll go ahead and start to close out, and everyone can have a chance to kind of promote what they've been doing. Just like I kind of mentioned a little bit about where you guys came from, at least Tim, but you guys can kind of go around and tell everyone what you do and what you want to do.
Who's going first?
Whoever wants to. You want to go first, Will?
Sure, I'll go first again. Why not?
Let's keep throwing it to you.
It's fine. Let's see. So I do reviews, video shorts, and things over at Megadads. I stream twitch.tv/wondrouswill. I don't think I'm going to play this game again. I'll probably just look up a video of level 0. I don't think I actually want to play this game anymore. I didn't hate it, but it's certainly not something I'm in a hurry to experience again. I appreciate it as a relic for the time period it was made in. It's an extremely
Good way to put it.
90s Genesis experience, and I treasure it for that. But I think I'm quite finished. At least until they put one of the sequels up, and then I guess I'll play that one too.
Nice.
Oh, the sequel is very different.
Of course it is.
Very different.
I think I would be disappointed if it wasn't.
Well, even
Just a complete departure.
Yeah, because there's one on Xbox too, right?
I remember them making one semi recently.
Well, that's the newest
not
ones on all the current platforms. But I think there's a sequel that came to Xbox too, right, Adam?
Well, that's the third one, and
Yeah.
that was a 3D. It wasn't great, but they really did try to capture the spirit of the original. I only played it very, very briefly, so I couldn't really talk too much about it. But there was a sequel on the Genesis, which was called Panic on Funkotron.
It's more side-scrolling, right?
Yes, it's basically just a side-scrolling platformer. It's still cool and it's fun, but and I only played it. I think I rented it once or twice, but I wasn't crazy into it because I was, of course, hoping for more of the type of gameplay you got from the first game. Not sure why that design choice was made, but it was still a fun game. I mean, you get to actually see what ToeJam and Earl's home planet looks like, which is pretty cool because it exists on Funkotron rather than on Earth. And it's still a fun game, and it's actually visually speaking, it's a really cool and pretty looking Genesis game. But it just is not. It doesn't have that same unique gameplay aspect that the original did.
It's not as experimental.
Right.
No.
Yeah. It just, for some reason, they just made it a side scroller, which is fine. It's still fun, but they maybe could have expanded on the original concept a little bit more rather than regressing in.
I mean, maybe they couldn't go
design.
further on the Genesis.
Maybe so.
They did the Zelda 1 to Zelda 2 thing.
That's true.
Completely different.
It's true. I didn't really play the new one though, the remake, so I can't speak to that one either.
Yeah, I didn't play it either. I need to get it at least. It's one of those. I think I'm going to try to get a hold of all these games it's definitely a piece of history that I'd like to keep at some point. And since you were just at it, Adam, why don't you go ahead and give us your spiel?
Oh, well, I am able to be found on Twitter, Octorock1982 on Twitter. Gonna be starting. I'm still kind of developing my concept for my Twitch channel, which hasn't really done anything yet, but I want to do something sort of unique if I can. So more info to come on that. But I am one of the hosts of Retro Groove, which is a music podcast that I host with Liam LPD in the retrologic Discord. And we're what is it? There's always a confusion around what the right term is. Is bi-weekly? It's every other Friday.
Yeah, it's
Every other
bi-weekly.
Friday we release an episode. And we've got 22 episodes up at this point. Some of them are, and more recently we're doing a lot more video game music based episodes. We just dropped our Ramones episode this past Friday, so that's a fun one. We just very chill. We talk about music. We have some guests on occasionally, and it's a lot of fun. So we're Retro Groove on all podcast platforms. And we also have our own little channel in the retrologic Discord if you're in there as well. That's it.
Awesome. And Tim, you can go next.
All right, so I am Tim NeoPrime33 on Twitter, also part of the Nintendo Dads, and a big fan of all three of these guys and their shows. So I appreciate everything that you guys do, and from different aspects, because I can't do everything. Obviously, I'm interested in all this stuff, so I live vicariously through all three of you and everything you guys do. So
that's how it works. I love it.
Right. So, but yeah, thanks for having me on and give me a chance to play it. Because I mean, I'll probably go back and play ToeJam and Earl, like I said, to try to find level 0 and play around with it a little bit more. I don't know how far I'll get with it, and I'll have to be in the mood to do that. I've got other things on my plate to try to play. I've been playing. For sure. After I've been playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the last 5 years, so I'm trying to finally beat that game. So
I would be willing to do online co-op with you for like one run.
Okay,
just to experience it that way.
Excellent. All right, well, we'll make sure we're friends on our Switches, and we'll have to give that a go.
Taking one for the team.
Yes,
right.
I'm really curious about that. So I'll let you know when I'm in that mood or something, and we'll try to get that connection there. But yeah, like I said, find me either at NeoPrime33 on Twitter or under the Nintendo Dads umbrella. So, and anywhere. So thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, no, it was a blast. That's why I love doing these shows. I get to hear everyone's unique perspectives on the game that we choose, and I always learn something new about people that I didn't know before, and how they enjoy things. So that's what I get out of doing it. So I kind of have two announcements, since and this is probably how it will be for every one of these Retro Rewind shows, because I'll know the next game. So the next Retro Rewind game is going to be Earthworm Jim 2.
Yes.
So this will be another NSO based Retro Rewind. The next one after that will be a lot of games that I choose that isn't on the NSO. So I'll try to, as a kind of said this at the beginning of the launch of the new Retro Rewind, is these games that I choose on the next round will be to a console that the majority of people that I polled had, and they'll all be reasonably priced so that you don't have it, you can go get it. I don't want to send everybody out to go get a
little Samson.
A little Samson so that we can play that on the show. But I'll find a lot of good fun games that are reasonably priced, that if somebody doesn't have it, it's not going to break the bank to go get it.
That's awesome.
But as for the next month of May, we will be playing Earthworm Jim, and it's found on the Nintendo Switch Online, or if you have your own original copy on Super Nintendo, go for it. I don't have any problem. However you want to play it, you play it. As for the next episode of On Topic Retro, I was kind of thinking about it, and I had a pile of games, Game Boy games, that ended up, most of them were slotted for microsodes, except for one, and that is Donkey Kong 94 for the Game Boy. And
Nice.
kind of getting back into it and going through it again, it's not really a game that I want to talk about by myself. There's a lot to it, so I think I'm going to go ahead and find some folks to talk about that game for the next episode. If you guys haven't played Donkey Kong 94, it's not your average everyday Donkey Kong game. It's something unique, and it's a blast. So I'll be reaching out shortly for that.
Maybe Dan can make it for that one.
Yeah, we'll see. He's kind of pressed, and I'm just glad that he could still find the time to do some retrologic with me.
For real. This was fun. Thank you.
Yeah. No, this is the fun podcast, the experience you just let loose. I don't have to worry about anything else.
Yes. Anybody
so-
who's listening to this and played it and missed out on talking about it, try to make the next one. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like I said on the last one, for Pikmin, I was like, if anybody else is a expert and had more to share, you should have just came on the episode. But yeah, so thanks for listening to On Topic Retro. It's a part of the Retrologic family of podcasts, which is also underneath the Nintendo Dad's umbrella of podcasts, as Tim likes to put it. So I've been using that. If you would like to send your personal experiences for the next show, which will be for Donkey Kong 94, you can, and you don't have Discord, you can send them to ontopicretro@gmail.com, and I will grab them there and put them in the show notes, and you'll be heard on the show. I'll read them out. If you haven't joined the wonderful non-toxic Retrologic Discord and would like to, you can visit retrologic.games for details on how to join there. It's free. You can come hang out, talk to some of the coolest people I know that are just there to talk video games and help support each other. It's a good fostering community for all types. So come join if you want. If not, you can use that email address and get a hold of me that way as well. So that's basic. And also, I want to mention on retrologic.games, that's how you also find the other podcast, Retrologic, and Adam's podcast, Retro Groove. You can find all the episodes and things that you want to know about those shows on that same website. So you also can find a blog that Sam, the other co-host of Retrologic, does. He does an awesome job there, just kind of speaking his mind on paper, and get to learn all kinds of cool stuff. He's like the game historian.
Good content on that blog. That's good stuff.
Yep. Yeah, so that's it for this episode, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye now.
Keep it funky.
That's right.